Budda Baker's back, baby. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Man, Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Budda Baker's back. Everydayers, you knew this was coming. Everydayers, we've talked about this since the end of last year with James Conner and Budda Baker. Everydayers, I'm here for you. 3-year, $54 million. $30 million guaranteed. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I'll discuss it. Budda Baker is a bankable for the Cardinals every week. What other players are bankables, whether they're rookies, second-year guys, or wily vets? Who are the bankables going into the rest of the season that the Cardinals can trust every week to produce? And finally, the Arizona Cardinals get flexed. I'll discuss it in the final segment. I'm jacked up. I'm ready to roll. James Conner in. Budda Baker in. Who's next? I put it on Twitter. Kazir White, probably. He deserves it. Trey McBride, sure, of course. He's going to be an all-world tight end for the Cardinals for the next decade, you'd hope. Kazir White came over on a 2-year deal with a very uncertain situation and just produced. He's just balled out in the middle of the field. He deserves it next. There's plenty of time to discuss that during the offseason, though. But before we get into Budda Baker being here for the next 3 years, it's probably going to be 2 years with an out, which is the Monti Ossenfort way, which makes total sense. James Conner's a 2-year deal. There's an out after next year. It's just to keep things malleable, flexible, which I think is 100% the way things should be going. So before getting into Budda Baker's impact, let's just look quickly. Since Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon took over, their plan was to level up the competition level, to build a new culture, strengthen the foundation, and start to slowly but surely return back to relevancy. And that, my friends, is exactly to a T what they've done. Has it looked how we thought it would? No. Did we think Josh Dobbs was going to be the starting quarterback week 1 of last year? No. Did we think that they were going to run roughshod over a large portion of the NFL, regardless of who was at quarterback last year? No. And also, what we're witnessing now is an Arizona Cardinals team that's returned back to relevancy ahead of schedule. So when we discuss where they are now, and we'll discuss more about it. I have crossover Thursday with Julian Council from Locked On Panthers tomorrow, and then I'll do a deep dive into the Week 16 matchup on Friday. How we got here was exactly how we got to witnessing the Arizona Cardinals where they are now is exactly how Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon said it would happen. And exactly what should be happening with contract extensions. Just mold into that this year. I said on the show, I'm taking victory lap. I think it was obvious. I had a bunch of friends come on, my friends in this industry come on and say, no, this is the last year. I'm like, why? Oh, they drafted Trey Benton a lot on Twitter. They drafted Trey Benton and Adrian Taylor-Deverson. So what? Adrian Taylor-Deverson plays strong safety, not free safety. He could play both, but he was drafted to play, Jalen Thompson's role. And James Conner is a top 12 running back. He's so important to this culture and to the ecosystem. He wants to be here. That's the overarching theme here. The deliverable here, the shift here, is 2 stars who probably could have gotten more money on the open market, maybe decided to stay, understood how important what they were building is, and now you can set and forget for the next couple of years. That's good management. That's good leadership. That's good production by the 2 players. And this is something that Cardinals fans like you probably aren't used to. retaining top talent instead of having a GM who's inept saying, "Oh nope, Calais Campbell, your best years are beyond you." Oh, hey, Tyrann Mathieu, we gave you too much money. That was my bad. Can you give some back? No. Oh, you don't want to do that? Oh, what a surprise. Bye-bye. Go win a Super Bowl somewhere else. It's different. So while it's not been perfect this year, while Kyler Murray hasn't been great at times this year, while Drew Petzing's play calling has been questionable this year, these are first world problems compared to what you and I have witnessed over the last decade surrounding the Arizona Cardinals organization. And Budda Baker is the pillar of that. I will tip my cap to Steve Keim. This is the best draft pick he ever made. And the reason why it's the best draft pick he ever made is, first off, it's like, well, nobody was taking Kyler Murray at 1. Okay, so that was unopposed. He took Kyler Murray at 1. It wasn't like, he found a diamond in the rough at the 8th pick or something like that. The reason why it's Budda Baker is because he traded up to the top of the second round in 2017 to grab, I believe, 1 pick before Seattle drafted, and they also taken Budda Baker. Coming from UW, he fit that culture incredibly well. He would have been a perfect fit there. And what Budda Baker's done since coming to Arizona is, since being a rookie, he overcompensated for terrible cornerback play, so linebacker play, and been just an absolute demon, whether it be on the third level of defense or behind the line of scrimmage coming after the quarterback. And now Budda Baker is able to just play free safety. He's able to do what he wants. He's able to just play that role. If Tyrann Mathieu wasn't in Kansas City with good corners, Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes on the other side, he wouldn't have had the production that he's had. When a player can just play his role instead of having to overcompensate for multiple shortcomings on his side of the ball, look at what happens. Like, the crazy part, and I tweeted this out at Clancy's Corner, the crazy part, just think about this. Since being drafted in 2017, Budda Baker has never, and when I say never, I'm not saying an absolute just, for it to be hyperbolic. He's never played with a roster that had a bona fide CB1 and CB2. Think about that. Never. And, it's like, Garrett Williams and Max Melton are at CB1, CB2. Okay, they're closer than he's ever been. And Garrett Williams is like, Pro Football Focus, they have him ranked as the 5th most efficient corner in the league this year, in his first full season as a pro. And you can see what Budda Baker can do when all he has to do is his own job. And he does his job differently than other free safeties do. There are very few players that play the position like he does. You see a lot more safeties like Derwin James who come in. They're more of a backer than a free rusher, like a missile like Budda Baker is. Budda Baker is everything you want any NFL player to be. And when Monti Ossenfort came in his introductory press conference, the first still of him as the GM of the Arizona Cardinals was him shaking Budda Baker's hand. When asked about Budda Baker, he's like, you want every Arizona Cardinal to be like Budda Baker. He leads by example. He leads with his voice. He leads by his play. He leads by, his leadership, like his actual leadership. And he's going to go into the Ring of Honor someday, you think, where it actually means something. Like homegrown, drafted, developed, played all-star or Pro Bowler. And hopefully, at least a Super Bowl participant before he retires. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Budda Baker's set and forget. Now you ain't got to worry about it. It's a beautiful thing. Well done, Monti Ossenfort. Well done, Budda Baker, to deserve the cheese that he got. It's the richest third contract by a safety in NFL history. Deserves every penny. And at $30 million, $10 million a year, it's an $18 million annual value. But, with elevators and things like that, it's not always that. Plus the salary cap's a lot. Aaron Freeman, Locked On Falcons, you get your tip of the cap to that. Budda Baker being an Arizona Cardinal for the next handful of years. James Conner being Arizona Cardinal through, he'll probably play both years with the Cardinals, the 2 years, maybe a restructure or something like that. You got your leaders. You got them in the right spots. And for those that think that running back and free safety are not premium positions, I treat you like adults here. Please stop regurgitating what other people say to sound smart. Premium position is whatever that player means to that specific team. If you tell me that Budda Baker is not a premium position player for the Arizona Cardinals, we're just going to have to disagree. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. What other players besides Budda Baker and James Conner are bankables for the rest of the season to produce when the Cardinals, are in an effort to make the damn playoffs? We'll discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now you can tackle all the NFL action. As a new customer, you can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by the College Football Playoff on TNT. It's that time of year the College Football Playoff is back, baby. And with the newly expanded 12-team playoff, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of this College Football Playoff begins December 21st, starting with College Football Playoff Kickoff Show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading to our first matchup, the SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the College Football Playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. The Carolina game is going to be fascinating. I'm going to talk to Julian Council tomorrow of Locked On Panthers. The Seahawks have another tough matchup with Minnesota. TBD, as of recording this podcast, Geno Smith is going to play. It could be Sam Howell. The Rams are reared up, ready to go. We'll talk about the flexing that is happening next week. The Cardinals are going to have multiple opportunities still for the remainder of the season to show what they've got regarding intestinal fortitude. With that, going into game days, who do you see as a bankable set-and-forget player on both sides of the ball? Let's run through it real quick. Budda Baker and James Conner speaks for itself. We talked about it last segment, so they're omitted from this segment with any sort of description. Kyler Murray, we still put him there. When I do these kind of segments, you just kind of remove the quarterback because he touches the ball every play on offense. Trey McBride, bankable. I think that you still put Yalta for a hold as bankable there. Jonah Williams, he's played very well last week, had a little rough start. The offensive line kind of imploded his first couple weeks back, which was a coincidence. I think you still put Paris Johnson Jr. there. He had his 2 worst games as a pro, back-to-back weeks, bounced back last week. Overall, the offensive line has played excellently for the majority of the season, and that is a huge reason why, at times, the offense has been high-powered and unstoppable. Defensively, this is where it gets tricky. Kazir White, bankable. Garrett Williams, bankable. Max Melton is an honorable mention, I think, at this point. Max Melton's played very well during a large portion of this season. As a rookie, thrust into action, needing to produce because he showed flashes enough to where he deserves starter snaps, and Sean Murphy-Bunting hasn't played so well for the majority of the season. He's on the outside looking in, but he's still in the arena. Max Melton's played very well this year. Budda Baker, sure. Jalen Thompson, Adrian Taylor Deverson, whoever's in there. You trust those safeties to be the stopgap that's stopping big plays. Also, with whatever blitz packages the mad scientists Nick Rallis and Jonathan Gannon want to cook up, you're seeing safeties in the backfield a lot. The tough part is the pass rush. Zaven Collins, no. Absolutely not. He's going to be a glue guy for the next couple years. It'll be interesting to see with Zaven Collins what happens when they do bring in some more talent for the pass rush. Like, if he can be a situational guy, if they can find him a role where he's not required, like the pass rush doesn't live and die by his production, I think it'll fit him a lot better. Dante Stells has been the best interior defensive lineman the Cardinals have had this year. Roy Lopez probably deserves a contract as well, which will be, low impact. Like, it just, without Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols, who've, were lost for the year a while ago, you're really starting to see some young guys, some unknown guys to the the casual football fan that's not an Arizona Cardinals fan, really put in meaningful snaps in the interior defensive line. Now, it hasn't been perfect. It's been the weak spot. Darius Robinson coming back. You saw flashes. Baron Browning looked good last week, coming off the edge, making the left tackle look like he was standing in ice, which it seemed like he was. When you see things like that, like, those are obviously busted pass protection coverages. Okay. With that, you see what a first steps looks like in a vacuum. And both Darius Robinson and Baron Browning both have wildly quick first steps off the edge. But I don't think you can bank on either of them to produce and get pressures and get sacks every week when you absolutely, no doubt about it, need a pass rush to be able to win a football game. That's not what this year is. The secondary has been the strength, and you'll take it because you trust those guys. When they produce, when Garrett Williams and Max Melton have two of the higher Pro Football Focus grades throughout the course of the year, and I know that it cherry picks certain stats to make it look one way or the other, and you could take it or leave it with Pro Football Focus, but it's a metric. Okay, they're a trusted brand in the space, and you can utilize it just to show kind of a barometer of how a player is playing. Okay, and I know that it's not perfect, but use your eye test. Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, Dadrian Taylor-Deverson, Garrett Williams, Max Melton, and Starling Thomas have looked much better as a unit than anybody would have expected this year, especially with a team devoid of a pass rush. So if they're playing that well without pass rush, imagine what it'll be like if they actually bring in, I'm not going to say pass rush again for the rest of my life after saying it 5 times in a row. If they bring in some talent up front to be able to get after the quarterback and maybe have these corners and DBs not have to cover for 4 seconds every damn snap. It's only going to get better. But that secondary is bankable, and you'll take that in what was set to be kind of a transition year for the defense. You'll take it. So when you're looking at this, and Matt Prater, designated to return off IR, I think it's the perfect time. I think that they were just riding out the Chad Ryland experiment as long as they could. And now he did make a 49-yarder last week. Like, he's played a lot better than anybody would have expected, especially with what his time was like in New England and then getting cut. Kicked the 3-game winners. Like, the Cardinals wouldn't be here without his right foot. And it's time to bring Praterade back in, kicking bombs, and you trust him even more down the stretch when you need plays. You just do. So I would say Matt Prater is bankable, at least for the rest of this season. We'll see how he feels as an elder statesman going into 2025. All in all, going down the stretch, last 3 games of the year, the Arizona Cardinals are in a much better position than anybody would have expected going into the season. I'm sorry that it looks different than we thought it would, that it's kind of a letdown that they're 1-3 after the bye. And I'm sorry, like, it's not a who cares situation. It's not a pointing fingers. Oh, they should have 10 wins already. No, they shouldn't. This roster is not complete yet. The coaching is elevating the majority of these players out of their minds to play in a way that they're playing together. The fact that they're 7-7 with still a chance to win the division and make the playoffs, that's all. That was it. If you've listened to Locked On Cardinals first, thank you. Thanks for hanging out. This is your first listen. In week 15, if the Cardinals are in the hunt on that overlay on TV, that's a win. So it's a win. It's a win. And if they get embarrassed in Carolina, we're having a different conversation, maybe. But if the Cardinals beat Carolina, move to 8-7 from week 16, and then have a matchup on the road against the Rams, pretty much not for the division, because Seattle still needs to go 1-2 in these last 3 games. But if the Cardinals win on Sunday and it lines up Saturday night, which we'll talk about in a second, against the Rams in Week 17, it's a storybook year. It's a storybook year. Let's talk about what it means that the Cardinals got flexed to Saturday night. Next, Locked On Cardinals, your team, yours, every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy, man. If you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy, whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports. Prize Picks makes your holiday bigger and brighter. You now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks, 1,000 times. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money as fast as 15 minutes, man. Download the Prize Picks app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by our friends over at Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That's definitely happened to me. And I've had a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances, man. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together all in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit that year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they're using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnNFL today. That's rocketmoney.com/LockedOnNFL. rocketmoney.com/LockedOnNFL. Cardinals getting flexed. Sounds like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episodes. Cardinals get flexed. The Cardinals are playing the Rams on Saturday night in Week 17. I think that this is the greatest thing that could have happened. This is the greatest thing that could have happened. It gives Kyler Murray another shot. And that's the greatest thing that could have ever happened. I don't say that with any sort of. That sounded like an evil devil on my shoulder saying it like that. No, I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic because it does two things. One, the Cardinals are still playing the Rams, so it's still the most important game of the season. So that hasn't changed. And two, if the Cardinals can't win that game, they don't deserve to make the playoffs this year. And that's not to say that they should beat the Rams. That's to say that the Cardinals haven't won an important game like that with Kyler Murray in a long time. It's like, gotta have it. Gotta have it. And that's one, just like Seattle was at home a couple weeks ago. That game is on Kyler Murray. That win or loss is a quarterback stat. When you need your star quarterback to will a team to victory, and he hasn't done that lately, it's not so much pressure on him to produce. It's not if you don't win that game, you don't deserve the money you're making. No, that's dumb. But if the Cardinals are going to turn things around and Kyler Murray is going to be the quarterback, you got to win games like that. And it's going to be 50-50. The Cardinals won't be favored. I'm sure they'll be, 2.5 or 3-point underdog at that point because the Rams are the hottest team in football. One of them, Minnesota. But you want the lights to be brightest. You want everybody to be watching. You want to see what this Cardinals team is when there's no fluff. There's nothing. It's 22 players on the field, 60 minutes, winners in contention for the playoffs, loser is out. And the last time Kyler Murray and this Arizona Cardinals team played against the Rams, they got embarrassed. First round of the playoffs 3 years ago, sorry. They got embarrassed. Worst case scenario. Now, things are different. The talent is probably about the same, but it's different. It's molded differently. It's like, oh, you weigh 250 pounds. Beer belly, whatever that is. Oh, you weigh 250 pounds, all muscle. The talent is dispersed differently. It's not as top heavy. And it doesn't matter if it's rookie, second year players or the vets. They've got the right spots in the right places. They've got the right talent in the right places. It's going to be immensely better next year with the money they have to spend in the draft picks and all that. And BJ Ojulari coming back and But getting flexed is the greatest thing that could happen to this Cardinals team this year. It's not a game of chicken. It's not let's crank the lights up brighter just to see what this Cardinals team is made of. No, it's not, because that's so carnival barkery. Barkery? It's the perfect time for the true most important litmus test for this team, not just for 2024, but what their baseline is for 2025. And sure, they still have to play week 18, say they beat the Rams, they lose the 49ers. So many things can happen. The Cardinals made their bed with this. First things first in Carolina, they're not going to overlook it. All these things. The Cardinals are prepared. They're not a team that's going to overlook Carolina. Carolina is ramping up. They're getting better and better. Again, I'll talk to Julian Council tomorrow from Locked On Panthers more in depth about that, so you can get a taste of what it's been like with the Panthers. When I saw the Cardinals got flexed, I'm like, oh, what a gift. What an absolute gift. Because who's made for prime time, who's won so many important games and coached so many important games? Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. If the Cardinals can win that is looking at the future like this is a different team. If they lose and they get embarrassed, we're going to be having different conversations this offseason. I have a moratorium until the end of the season, but if this goes poorly and the quarterback play is the main reason why, we're going to be having different conversations. I don't think that's going to happen at all. And if it does, I'll address it. If it does. Saddle up. These next couple of weeks are going to be the most fun of the year. The most fun of the year. These couple of weeks are going to be the most fun time of the year so far. And I'm really happy that you're with me to enjoy it. Alex Lindsay, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. Crossover Thursday with Julian Council of Locked On Panthers tomorrow. Talk to you then.